Tonight in our Northwest Close-Up, the story that began in the 1980s.
A story that started with a woman's rather remarkable claim. She said a 35,000-year-old warrior spirit had appeared before her, borrowed her body, and used her voice to teach. That woman is J.Z. Knight. The spirit is known as Ramtha. Now J.Z. Knight and Ramtha are making something of a comeback, re-emerging into public life. And this time, scientists are investigating. You can judge for yourself as KIRO's Julie Blacklow takes you along, reconsidering Ramtha.
It takes me about 3 minutes to get out of my body. And at great velocity, I move through this tunnel. Ramtha's energy comes in as a ball of light that is shaped like a teardrop.
It is a Saturday morning in Yelm, Washington. And two very different worlds are converging. One of spirituality.
But the moment I hit this wall, I wake up and I'm back in my body.
The other world of science.
Finally, after more than a year of preparation, we have gathered to share our findings and conclusions.
We're always told we mustn't imagine the imaginable. And I think scientists are particularly bad at that kind of thing.
Over the last year, J.Z. Knight, in an effort to gain credibility for herself and the spirit she calls Ramtha, invited and paid for 12 scholars to come to Yelm to study Ramtha and the Ramtha School of Enlightenment, which espouses spirituality and a self-help, self-improvement, New Age curriculum.
I assure you that had I had any inclination or desire to have been able to have concocted such a story, I don't think I would have made him quite so old.
The researchers came from Colgate and Temple universities, from the Chicago Theological Seminary, from disciplines of physics, psychology, and religion, all with a healthy dose of skepticism.
What I feel we must do is to use these techniques to, if possible, scientifically eliminate the possibility of fraud on her part on this.
It's like peeling the onion, you know, and getting closer and closer to the core. That's how science progresses, by peeling the onion.
You are here to learn the great, great work.
That onion peeling process over the last year involved repeatedly testing Knight as she channeled Ramtha.
What do you think the word hypnotic means?
A 35,000-year-old warrior whom Knight claims to be able to channel or invoke at will through a private prayer ritual.
A master is one who awakens in the morning and creates the day.
The scientists measured heart rate, blood pressure, brain waves, and muscle tension. All tests which showed physical changes occurring in Knight's body as she channeled the 35,000-year-old warrior.
They're strong data, right.
While the scientists are not ready to validate the existence of Ramtha, they have ruled out a lot of other explanations.
We have been able to show what it is not. It is not role-playing. It is not mental disease. It is not panic attacks.
It's not delusional, it's not pathological, it's not fraud. It's something puzzling.
The tradition of this research puts a lot of emphasis on significant, hard to fake physiological changes. When you look into the eyes of this body when J.Z. is channeling, it's very striking.
If it is not scientific validation, it is, for now, good enough for J.Z. Knight.
But it was so refreshing after all of these years to have someone look at me and said, I now know you're not a fraud.
J.Z. Knight is living a less guarded and luxurious life these days, the result of the business she started based on Ramtha more than a decade ago. Students, currently 3,000 worldwide, pay tuition yearly to study here in Yelm at the Ramtha School of Enlightenment. They do not live here. They and hundreds more buy books and tapes from this well-stocked store on the estate. But if it is a pampered life now, it did not begin that way. She was born Judith Darlene Hampton and raised in poverty in the Southwest, one of 6 children of an uneducated mother and largely absent and alcoholic father. Her own education ended with high school and a few business courses. By 1977, she was a busy mother of 2 young sons, in a second marriage, living near Tacoma.
It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. It's on Sunday, and it was like one of those wonderful, incredible surprises that happened. And there stood this 7-foot-tall being at the end of my kitchen, who introduced himself as Ramtha. And thus, it started from there.
But what began as a good thing for J.Z. Knight did not continue that way. Her move here to Yelm in the late 80s, the construction of this gated mansion, her claims about Ramtha, Hollywood connections, and a very public divorce were all the ingredients needed to attract a lot of attention and criticism. Notoriety which caused J.Z. Knight to withdraw from public view.
I was really looking to understand life.
One of those early Hollywood connections was actress Linda Evans, who, like many of the students, approached the whole idea of Ramtha with skepticism.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, because, I mean, what was that? I mean, how do I know she's not acting? So I watched her to see how she would do it if she were acting.
Well, analogical mind, patience, and hypnotic ability are the same thing.
After a while, I determined not only would she be a brilliant actress if she were acting, but who was writing her material? How did she know all of that? And if she knew it all, why didn't she just do it herself? I know my friend very well. Jay-Z, I know her. She's not there. He comes in. My friend leaves. I can't find her anywhere.
I've been on a quest for 30 years.
Linda McCollum is another of Ramtha's current students. She, too, began as a skeptic.
The doubters have a right to doubt. I doubted. Everyone's skeptical at a certain point in the school because you've got to stretch beyond what you're comfortable with, and you make a decision.
If following Ramtha has been a stretch for some of the students, studying Ramtha has been a stretch for most of the scientists.
But my mind is open.
You're not as skeptical?
I was skeptical when I came. Now I know there is a real phenomena here.
I can tell you that that's who has been coming into my life.
And the whole phenomenon of Ramtha has even been hard to handle at times for J.Z. Knight herself.
All of my difficulties and my confrontations that I've had to deal with in the last 20 years, mainly because of Ramtha, have made me a much greater person in my eyes. And I understand people much better than I ever did before. So I find that I couldn't have grown without it. And I appreciate it. I don't regret any of it.
Well, the big event is Ramtha appearing in the Great Arena to teach.
A place that journalists have never been allowed until now. Tonight, you'll get to see J.Z. Knight as she purportedly becomes Ramtha. Stay tuned.
Scientists charted the changes in her body as she channeled the spirit of an ancient warrior. But what really happens when this 35-year-old spirit or 35,000-year-old spirit appears before cheering followers? Tonight you get to see for yourself. It all happens in a place called the Great Arena.
It is regarded by some as a sacred place, the place where many believe Ramtha teaches. It's a place where, until now, no journalist had ever been. But camera's Julie Blacklow takes you there tonight as we continue reconsidering Ramtha.
It is now 5 days after the scientific conference, Thursday evening in Yelm. Word has gone out that Ramtha will teach tonight in the Great Arena, an enormous converted horse stable on J.Z. Knight's 40-acre estate. And nearly 1,000 of Ramtha's 3,000 students answer the call. While students of the Ramtha School pay an average $1,000 a week to study here once a year, tonight's event is free. Cameras hired by the school will tape tonight's lecture, the first new video in more than a decade. So Ramtha needs an audience, and he gets one. These pictures, though supplied by the Ramtha School, do represent what we saw. Photographer Glenn Austin and I are the first journalists ever allowed inside the arena. At the appointed hour, 7 p.m., J.Z. Knight arrives as herself.
Thank you. Very kind. February is the month that In 1977, Ramtha appeared to me in my kitchen, started this whole saga. And I've thought a lot about 20 years and the journey it's been, and it's been a son of a gun.
She talks about the conference with the scientists and her feelings about her 20-year journey with Ramtha.
I love everything that I've learned and who I've become, and I'm certainly not there, but I'm on my way.
After about 30 minutes, Jay-Z Knight's part of the evening is done.
I have to leave now and go take all this garb off and transform myself.
She leaves, returns to the main house, and goes through a private prayer ritual, which she says allows her to channel or invoke Ramtha at will.
It takes me about 3 minutes to get out of my body. And at great velocity, I move through this tunnel. Ramtha's energy comes in as a ball of light that is shaped like a teardrop. That teardrop encases my physical body.
Half an hour has passed, and Jay-Z Knight, at least in body, has returned.
O my beloved God, unto that which is termed you, I salute you, from the Lord God, of my being. God bless my life. So be it. To life.
With that, Ramtha, in the body of Jay-Z Knight, in different clothes, a different voice, a different demeanor, begins a 2-hour lecture.
We're going to learn, because we have chosen that which is termed this particular experience.
Without notes and without hesitation, Ramtha launches into a polished monologue on patience, the meaning of reality, on physical health, and how we humans can maintain it.
You cannot hold a thought in its perfect form in the neocortex without analysis. And if you do, then you are not holding it in a static position of patience.
It all seems quite effortless. It is a non-stop, intense, and occasionally complex lecture.
Now, my beautiful masters,
a combination of the scientific and the spiritual.
There are all elements of that which is termed the brain. The neocortex, the midbrain, the lower cerebellum, all have the capacity for that which is termed patience.
Every 10 minutes or so, Ramtha pauses and encourages his students to discuss what they're learning from the lecture.
You turn to your neighbor and explain. You may begin. Now, my beloved people, you understand so far?
The tone is low-key, gentle, more teacher than preacher, more lecture than sermon.
Yes, you understand. It's sort of like going to church on Sunday and praying for all the sins of Saturday night, only to be reprieved Monday morning and start it all over again. How many of you understand that? You have learned? You have? Are you going to do your focus a bit different? You are. Is it possible for you to be well tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Is it possible for you to be lofty, beautiful, and loving unconditionally? Indeed it is.
If this is indeed another entity occupying the body and mind of Jay-Z Knight, then where does she go when Ramtha takes over?
During the time that I'm absent, moving into this wall of light, which I have no memory of what happens to me after I re-emerge from this place, what is 5 minutes to me, Ramtha may have had my body for 12 hours. So I have a 12-hour gap in time, 4 hours or 3 hours.
On this night, Ramtha's class lasts 2 hours, relatively short by comparison.
Now,
And he or she, depending on one's own belief system, finishes up with a kind of spiritual invitation.
Come, be prepared to change. Be prepared to evolve. And if you can't come that way, don't come at all. So be it. And P.S. Did I tell you today that I love you? Well, I do.
Some of the students, mostly the teenagers, migrate towards the door to hug him and be hugged by him. And that is clearly what they believe. But what of the two journalists who also sat in on this evening? Well, we can say this much. Only one of two things is true. The entity called Ramtha is either a 20-year-old deception involving thousands of people worldwide, or is something else quite impossible to explain. And either of those possibilities is remarkable. Julie Blacklow, KIRO News, Yelm.
Julie is right. It is truly extraordinary either way.
You decide. Harry's Clearview forecast when we come back.